Hi, this is Chatboxing. I'm Sean. 1 week away from the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder rematch. So I want to talk about this video, try and break it down a little bit. Well, let me start by saying that I expect both of them to be significantly better in this fight than they were in the first one. Both of them will need to be better if they're going to win it as well. I'll start with Deontay Wilder. Um, Going into the first fight, him and all his team obviously thought that Tyson Fury is finished, washed up. He's going to be in a very poor physical condition. Wasn't really going to be that motivated, and was going to be quite an easy victory. That obviously proved not to be the case. Deontay Wilder's been in there with him now. He knows how difficult it was, and also he knows that Tyson Fury wasn't in a, as Fury would say, match fit going into that fight, and he knows that for this one he will be. So you could expect Deontay Wilder to be mentally prepared a lot better, even if not physically prepared. Now, I don't know if going into the first one, um, he trained as hard as he should have done. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But I do know that psychologically, he would have gone into that thinking, this isn't going to be like a proper fight. This isn't the Tyson Fury that fought Vladimir Klitschko. But he saw the two fights he had with Safari. He was ringside for the one against Pianetta. And Fury looked awful in those fights. He looked like a real shell of himself. Obviously, it's well documented, all the weight loss, etc., all that. So he wouldn't have gone into that fight with the same mindset that he's going into this one. So that will be an advantage for him, in my opinion. And I mean, unless it just goes too far and the nerves kind of. But I don't know. I think that he will be. I think it's always better to be, prepared. If you go in there underestimating your opponent, that's never going to be a good thing. In terms of how he can improve in the actual fight, um, yeah, like people say, he's got to be. I mean, in terms of like patient, I mean, he was too patient in the. If that's, I don't even think it. I mean, people say like patient against Auto. I don't really think it was patience as such, as not really having. I mean, he credit to Ortiz. I mean, he was outboxing him in there, but I think really it was just a lack of ideas, a lack of creativity until like Ortiz basically slowed down. Now he's not going to have the luxury of doing that against Tyson Fury because against Luis Ortiz is smaller than him. Now Tyson Fury, I mean Deontay Wilder, like Tyson Fury, both of them are used to being bigger than their opponents. And Deontay Wilder, a lot of his defence is basically being taller and having longer reach, and he can kind of lean away and kind of get himself out of trouble like that. So for Ortiz, it was quite difficult for him. He had to work quite hard to outbox Deontay Wilder, and obviously with the age that he is and the the lack of fitness and the condition that he's in, that obviously took it out of him. So when he did start, what got to like about the sixth round, I think it was like the sixth round, fifth round, maybe he started slowing down, stopped moving his head so much, stopped moving his feet, stood in front of Wilder, boom, got taken out. Now against Tyson Fury, that's not going to be as easy because Tyson Fury is actually a little bit taller than Wilder. He's got a little bit longer reach than Wilder, and he's quicker on his feet than Wilder. So he's not going to be able to just sort of lean back and, you know what I mean, keep out of the way. He's going to be getting hit if he doesn't try and do something. So I think for him, he needs to try and be a bit more active. Now, the body he's got gets some pretty good shot jabs to the body against Fury in the last one. He does have quite a good jab, Deontay Wilder. It's basically his straight punches. Obviously, we all know about the right hand, but his jab is actually a decent jab. And the problem is, sort of jabbing with Tyson Fury is going to be hard, especially if Tyson Fury switches up, goes southpaw. But that is what he needs to do. And obviously, as he says, Tyson Fury is a big target. So if he can like try and jab to the body, the chest, and just sort of keep it a bit more active, because that way Tyson Fury it's going to be more difficult as well for Tyson Fury to predict those big right hands coming in. Because in the last fight, I mean, Deontay Wilder is predictable generally, but that's something he can work on, where he can, kind of just throw a higher volume of punches. Also, not necessarily all at the same power, all at the same speed. Just kind of make it a bit more. Not really sure like what's coming after this. So I think he needs to do that. Also, saw one thing I did like about the Ortiz fight, because generally I wasn't particularly impressed by that performance. But one thing I did like, he had quite a nasty little like left hook to the body, like whipped it in. He did that a couple of times. And if that's something he's been working on, That could be a good weapon. 'Cause that's why Klitschko was so dangerous. No, like Tyson, Deontay Wilder had been like a one-trick pony with that right hand. So it's quite easy for him to avoid it, for people to avoid it. Vladimir Klitschko had that fucking left hook as well. So if Deontay Wilder can work on that, can incorporate that, because he's very quick with it, and obviously it's powerful. Then give him something else to think about. Then that's going to be very good for him as well. In terms of Tyson Fury getting better, um, obviously the physical aspect is the principal way that he can improve. Now, going into that last fight, you could see that the fights going into it, he just wasn't very strong. He was kind of slapping people. He wasn't particularly quick on his feet, and he didn't really have that much energy that we're used to seeing. Now against Wilder, he kind of stunned him a couple of times, but he didn't really like push on. And now he says that was to do with energy. I think it was, but I think obviously like confidence had something to do with it as well. He hadn't, because obviously having lost all that weight, being in that condition, not really testing himself before that, he was a little bit in the back of his mind. Do I want to empty the tank, etc., etc. So I think going into this one, that's going to be different. I think people are sort of he's saying, oh, he's going to do him in 2 rounds and this that, and the other. Now I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to be the game plan. I think Tyson Fury, what he should do, what I said in the fight in the my prediction for the first fight, what he really needed to do, or like, was do a bit of everything. Now, obviously, from range, he's a very good boxer and he can punish Wilder to a certain extent. But it's a very dangerous place to be with Deontay Wilder because of the power and the speed that he can like launch that punch at you. So, and also you can just do it any time. So you don't want to be there too long. So I do agree that going 12 rounds is very risky, which is why I've always thought that Deontay Wilder, stylistically, was a very, very dangerous fight for Tyson Fury, just based on the fact that he's generally uh, going to be in there for quite a few rounds. We saw in the last one, he's outboxing him, winning the fight, and then came within a second of losing in the round 12. So it's a very dangerous game to be playing that too long at that range with Wilder. So I think what he needs to do is do that at times when he can, but also anytime he gets the opportunity to close that gap, do it. Get on top of him, body shots, rough him up. He's very deceptively good in the fighting close range, Tyson. I've seen him do it a lot. Um, he covers himself up well. He mixes up his shot. He's very sneaky. He can lean on you. He can, he knows a lot of tricks, and he's tough as well. Also, Wilder. I mean, he does. Obviously, he's physically pretty strong. It's not going to be that easy to just. People say get on top of him and bully him. You have to work for it. He does have quite explosive. Obviously, we know he's explosive power, but you can use that to kind of like push people off him. We've seen Wilder do that before, so that's not going to be easy. But if he pushes you off, he's not going to be able to sort of push you off and then bang with the right hand in the same motion. So that is going to be quite energy consuming for him. So I'd expect Tyson Fury to get on the inside when he can and just try and chip away at Wilder's energy. Um, I expect him really to do quite like similar to how he did in the first one, but just making him pay a bit more. In the first one, he was like outboxing Wilder, and then he like hurt him a couple of times, but he didn't really step on the gas. He didn't really make him pay. Now in this fight, what he should be doing, and what I think he will be doing, and when you talk about going for the knockout, he's basically doing that but with slightly, he's obviously got a bit more power in his punches, and trying to step behind it and really kind of make him pay because he's going to know now that he can go 12 rounds. He knows that obviously Wilder can hurt him, but he knows that he can get up from it. So, I mean, in terms of that knockdown, I mean, that was like the 12th round. So obviously Tyson Fury getting up in the 12th round for a big punch was impressive in terms of how tired he was, etc., etc. But then obviously Deontay Wilder hitting him with that big punch in the 12th round was impressive as well. So you got to think for both of them that wasn't ideal. Do you know what I mean? So if Wilder catches him in the third round, you'd expect it to be a bit harder than that. But saying that, if Fury can get up in the 12th round like that, having fought a tough fight, you'd expect him to be able to do it in the third round as well. So yeah, that's kind of terms of game plan. Um, how I see the fight going, I see Now, the only thing that would surprise me in this fight would be if Deontay Wilder outboxed Tyson Fury like sort of Floyd Mayweather style. Now, obviously, Wilder can win on points, but if he does, I think it's going to be because he drops Fury a few times. He's not going to go in there and just like work behind, like you know what I mean, outpoint him, and that's not going to happen. That's that would be mental if that happened. Now, as I say, he can outpoint him by dropping him a few times, but in terms of volume, in terms of picking up rounds, and just general boxing skill, he's not going to be able to, compete with Fury. Um, Now, it wouldn't surprise me if Wilder knocked Fury out at any point in the fight. Um, we've seen that Wilder can basically knock anyone out. Um, we've seen that Tyson Fury can be knocked down, but he gets up as well. So I don't think that Wilder's just going to people like Wilder has this idea or this thing that he says that he only has to be perfect for 2 seconds and everyone. Well, that's not true, is it? Because he can also get knocked out himself. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury, his style is someone who kind of moves around. He's like riding shots. He's on his feet. He's not really sitting down and putting that much power in his punches. But there were quite a few times where Deontay Wilder would like miss with a couple, he'd be off balance, and then he'd quite vulnerable. Fury then step in, hit him a couple of times, but then he'd be up, be gone again. So in these situations, Deontay Wilder is very vulnerable to get knocked out. So if he's going in there thinking that like the only thing that can happen is I can knock him out or he can just sort of beat me on points, then I think that's a very dangerous game plan for him to have or mentality to have. Now Wilder is naturally quite cautious anyway, and he hasn't really. I mean, he's been kept away from any big punches in his career. I mean, he hasn't fought really anyone who's a big puncher. So we don't know really how good his chin is. Now we've seen him like with that fight against Luis Ortiz. Now Luis Ortiz is a decent puncher. He's not a power puncher, but he can punch a little bit, and he hit him with quite a few punches in the first fight. So Wilder showed that he's not. I wouldn't say he's chinny. He's got a reasonable chin, but he certainly hasn't proven that he's got a good chin either. And he's been kind of rocked in quite a few punches, quite a few fights by various people. So he's definitely there to be knocked out. But obviously, as you know, like he can knock you out easier than what he can knock Fury out easier than Fury can knock him out. I mean that's pretty obvious. Um, so in terms of how what I think is going to happen, and I think Tyson Fury is going to win the fight. I think he showed in the last fight that he was better than him. I think he won the fight. I think he gives. I gave Wilder 3 rounds. I think I gave him obviously the two that he won. I think I gave him one of the early rounds. A couple of the early rounds are close. So if he'd have been given 4 rounds, for me, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. So he would have needed 5 for a draw. So it's not that mental, like the score, a draw. But I do think that Fury deserved to win. I also think that that was quite a poor version of Fury. Now people are saying that I've heard a few people saying that Tyson Fury boxes as well as he possibly got. I mean that is absurd to me. I mean, he basically did really like the bare minimum to win. Now he won. Obviously in boxing you win a lot of you win rounds and that's how it's scored. But he won the rounds. He wasn't like dominating all the round, but he was winning them, and he was clearly winning them. But he wasn't like sort of taking it to the next level to completely put himself out of sight. That obviously had a lot to do with the physical condition of him. I mean, Wilder's obviously got room for improvement as well, but I haven't seen anything from Wilder really to tell me that he can really compete with Fury if they both raise their game. Obviously, he has that knockout punch. So, as I say, he can knock Fury out at any time. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he did. But I think he will be losing the fight if that happens. So, what I think is going to happen is that Tyson Fury is going to go in there at first. Both of them are going to be cautious because they're big heavyweights. There's a lot of pressure. It's a big fight. Um, and they're both quite naturally cautious anyway, especially at the start. And obviously, they're both used to fighting people smaller than them. So it's a little bit, do you know what I mean? That the dimensions are a little bit kind of throwing them off a bit. So I expect it to be a little bit cagey for the first round or so. After that, I expect it to pick up a little bit. I expect Deontay Wilder to be trying to like work the body more, and I expect Fury to be trying to do the same thing he was doing, but just pick him off, punish him a little bit more when he does it. And as I say, get on the inside and try and rough him up. I do expect him to go for the knockout, not because he doesn't think he can get the decision. I don't think it's that. I just think he knows how dangerous Wilder is if you're in there for 12 rounds, and if you come within a second of losing last time. So I don't think he wants to risk that again. I think he wants to get him out of there the first opportunity he takes. He can, not necessarily like recklessly, but he'll try and break him down and then really try and get him out when he can. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked down at least once in the fight. The thing is, when Tyson Fury gets knocked down, then he normally reacts well. You know, every time he's got knocked down, he gets up, bites down a gum shield, gets pissed off, and takes it to you. They saw the 12th round against both the times he got knocked down, especially the 12th round because that was a heavy knockdown. Obviously, he got up and put it on Wilder, and you could see Wilder looked a bit bemused and he looked a bit shook. Really, he's a little bit kind of like fucking hell. I don't need this. And Tyson Fury like some maniac. You know what I mean? Like someone sort of get into a punch at them and should like smack a fucking baseball bat around their head. They're just like, ah, like come at you. Just like, fuck's sake. There was an element of that, I think, with Wilder. He's a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if Fury goes down, then gets up, and then starts getting more aggressive, and then puts it on Wilder. And then, if that happens early, because that was obviously the 12th round, if that happens early on in the fight, then I think it's going to go into a kind of war of attrition. And obviously, if that war of attrition is fought at long range, then it favours Deontay Wilder because he can take you out with that big straight, big right hand anytime. If the fight is fought at close range, then I'd favour Tyson Fury just from the sort of. I don't really think the will of Tyson Fury is going to be too much for him, to be honest. I think Wilder's someone who's used to fighting poor quality opponents. He's used to intimidating people. He's used to being like a big puncher, a bit of a bully kind of mentality. And don't get me wrong, I'll give him credit in the first fight how he never lost belief and he was still on in there. I did think like fair play to the fact he was still going at the end. But I think in terms of like a dog fight, I don't think he can match Fury. Um, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but that'd be my prediction. So I'm thinking that Tyson Fury is gonna stop him. He's gonna stop him late. One thing I will say though, I would not be surprised if there is a controversial stoppage in this fight. Especially bearing in mind with this talk of a third fight, all the politics, all these different networks trying to kind of keep out the zone Joshua out of America. I wouldn't be surprised if they think, right. I mean, it depends on how well this does, obviously commercially, but I think they definitely want to do a third fight. So, and obviously with the last fight, and when a lot of the Wilder fans are claiming the last one was controversial, um, in terms of the so-called long count. I wouldn't be surprised if in this you see a bit of a George Groves, Carl Froch style stoppage in the first fight, and then that way there's like a bit more controversy. There's like an excuse to get a third fight in. I'd certainly not putting it past that at all. I don't think it'd be a draw. I think that would be too obvious. But if if Wilder like hurts Fury a little bit, I don't think it will be done the other way. To be honest, could happen, but I think what's much more likely is that if there's a controversial stoppage in favour of Deontay Wilder, don't think that's going to happen, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised. I think the last round, like, because I mean, in the first fight, to be fair, obviously, I don't. It wasn't a long count. It's been debunked, but at the same time, if the referee had called off that fight, like when Fury first went down, it wouldn't have been that absurd. I mean, you've seen that done before, like the Danny Jacobs. What's the bloke called? The Russian geezer who knocked out Danny Jacobs. That's basically I can't remember his name now. The one who had the injury, the back. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, he knocked Danny Jacobs down, and the referee boom stopped it. And Danny Jacobs tried to get up, and he's like, no, no, no. So that was, I think Danny Jacobs could have got up, and if the referee had given him a chance, that would have been the same thing. But no one really complains about that. They just say, well, the referee stopped it. So yeah, if Fury gets put down heavily, that would be an opportunity for the referee if they want to think, right, third fight will come in, boom, stop the fight. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully there's no funny business. Everything's fair, above board, um, and we get a good fight. I'm not really a big fan of all the stuff that's gone on with Wilder and all the messing about and bullshitting over the last couple of years. But I'll give him a lot of credit for this fight. Um, both of them putting it on the line. So may the best man win. Obviously, I'm wanting Fury to win, but if Wilder can win, fair play to him. I'm not going to make excuses. I mean, this is now Tyson Fury in proper condition. There's no you can't say he's gone into it, he's lost a load of weight, he wasn't ready. He's had plenty of time to prepare himself. He's in a good physical condition, and yeah, this is the best Tyson Fury that could possibly be. So yeah, to summarise then, I think Tyson Fury is going to win. I think he's going to win by stoppage. It's going to be quite late in the fight, but obviously it would be no surprise to anyone if Deontay Wilder can just knock him out from at any point in the fight. So yeah, let me know what you lot think, and thank you very much for watching.